Welcome back to Trials and Triumphs, the podcast where we uncover the extraordinary stories of everyday people. Today, I have the privilege of speaking with someone who has dedicated his life to fostering gratitude, resilience, and mental wellness, Miguel Martinez. Miguel is the founder and head coach of MTClife, and he's a TED Talk speaker and the host of the podcast From Vision to Success. He's collaborated with organizations like the Canadian Mental Health Association and the Shawanaga First Nation to deliver impactful programs that promote personal growth and mental health. I'm excited to dive into this meaningful discussion. Let's get started. Miguel, welcome. Thank you for joining us today on our podcast.
No problem, man. Thank you for having me. This is exciting.
For those who are listening and don't know, I've known Miguel for years. He's actually been one of the people I've looked up to growing up. He was speaking at conferences growing up and teaching me things that I still think about to this day. And so when I was thinking about people that can come in and help inspire, I was thinking Miguel would have some great stories and have some good words of wisdom that many of our listeners could benefit from. So thank you for joining us today.
No, it's my pleasure, man. First of all, I want to tell you this, and I'm gonna highlight you here. Oh yeah, it's coming. I cannot stop getting all the positive feedback that I got from your talk.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, dude. You killed it, man. You killed it. And I'm not going to lie to you right now.
Oh no.
I'm not going to lie to you. I was kind of scared when you're like, I don't have anything prepared. And I'm like, oh, what the heck? I go, but the impression was to call this guy to speak to this ward. So for those who are listening, I'm a bishop at a church, at our faith. And we get impressions sometimes, you should call this person. And I remember you bore testimony, and that same day, I think I messaged him would you be willing to give a talk at our ward? And so when you came up on Sunday and you're like, okay, I don't have anything written down. And I'm thinking about what is happening right now. I was so scared. You have no idea. And then I looked at my counselor and and I did one of this and whatever. And, but dude, it was phenomenal. We always, on Sundays when we gather together as a family and we talk about the talks and stuff like that and what we learn in classes and things. Yeah. Your name just kept popping up, and then members and oh, that was such an amazing talk. And I was like, okay. Oh that was awesome. But I'm telling you, man, it was you killed it. So good job.
Thank you very much. It was kind of nerve-wracking to do, to be honest. To get up to this, I'm I haven't really done this before. This is new for me. How do I do this? Knowing that I prepared substantially before coming up to the pulpit. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I sat down afterwards and I was like, what did I just do? I just biffed it. I just rambled for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I sat with it for a minute. I was like, well, I did my best to follow what the Lord told me to say.
Yeah.
And then when I got off the stand, I was like, oh no, I did a good job. I said exactly what the Lord wanted me to say, regardless of how I feel about it.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, for sure. And again, it's one of those things we have mirrors to tell us how look we good.
Yeah.
Right. And then adjust our images and stuff like that. But we don't have mirrors for our internal spirit. And so we have to kind of rely on people that we trust. Right.
Yes.
To give us positive feedback. If people are telling us things to bring us down, they're people that you don't want to hear from. But if people are telling us things that we can be better, then yeah, it's definitely, they become our mirrors, right? And especially God and the Father. So yeah, definitely. Good job, dude.
Miguel, thank you for sharing your thoughts and that really good perspective. Many of our listeners don't know who you are, so why don't you tell us a bit about your life and background? Give us an image of who you are.
Okay, yeah. So my name is Miguel, and I let's see, where do we go from here? I was born in El Salvador. Left. There was a war that broke out between the people and government, and so I kind of left. We left. I lived in the States for about a year. Came to Canada when I was 8. My sister in El Salvador had married a returned missionary. Yeah. And so we were all born and raised Catholic. So that kind of went up against the grain of my family. They weren't my parents weren't too happy that she was marrying outside of the faith, and then let alone convert to this faith. But when we came to Canada, I sat down with the missionaries, and I got taught the gospel. I'm like, wow, I want to join. I did join at the age of 8. My parents didn't want nothing to do with the faith. And they joined when I was 15, 16, right?
Wow.
So I was going to church by myself for a while. And it's funny because growing up, I had great people, great mentors in my life letting me know you're going to do amazing things. And so that always kept ringing in the back of my head. As I continue to grow, whatever challenges, and then I knew I went on my mission, came back, and I started working in the corporate world and quickly realized I did not want to work for somebody else.
Yeah.
The bureaucracies, the policies, and it was things that it stood against a lot of the things that I believed in. And about 15 years ago, I started this company, MTClife, and we are a life and a business mentoring company, coaching company, focusing on leadership and mental health. So
that's exceptional. I guess, how did you go from being in corporate to then deciding, like, I'm going to start my own company and it's going to be on business and life coaching?
Yeah, it was scary. It's funny because I was just having this conversation with somebody yesterday. They're kind of like, how did you make this transition, right?
Yeah.
And they knew my life, and they knew that every 2 years I was jumping ship. Literally, I would climb that corporate ladder. I would get to that glass ceiling. I would see the next level, but never reach it. And in sales, it's not about the product. It's about the people. People buy you. They don't buy the product, right? And so I was always good at talking to people. The mission amplified it, right? And so I was always good at getting people to trust me. I like to think I'm a trustworthy person. I don't mess around with people's livelihoods. And yeah, people bought from me, and I would climb that corporate ladder. And again, every 2 years, I would jump ships. And when my third son was born, I turned to my wife and I was like, "Listen, I don't want to go back to work."
Yeah.
It's been 10 years. I've been jumping ship. I gotta stand my ground. I gotta figure something that I want to do. So I took a year off. And just I'm a firm believer if you ask the right questions, the right answers will come.
Yes.
So what do I want to do? What do I love to do? And the one thing kept ringing. I love working with youth. And I don't know if you know Simeon de Dios.
Yeah.
So he told me, he goes, a person will either they will work their job, a career, or a calling. Mm-hmm. You got to find out what that calling is. And I was like, okay. And then I figured out it was working with youth. It was just being around them. It kept me alive. It kept breathing air into my lungs. And and so then I just got into debt. Hardcore debt. I was pulling out of RSPs. I was getting loans.
Oh, no.
And again, I was not working. I was going from making 6 figures to being 0 figures. Mind you, with a wife, a car, 3 kids, and a house. So I was like, oh man, and that was a very big struggle for me. Yeah, so we struggled for about 5 years, big time. Yeah.
Well, here you are today. You've overcome it.
I like to think so. I'm on my way, and there's still certain races that I still have to run and certain lines that I have to cross. But yeah, I'm doing what I love now, and an income is not an issue anymore. So I enjoy it.
That's really awesome. I am excited to get to that point one day.
Oh, 100, you will. Then you will. I think you started on the right foot, which is asking. I mean, I cannot begin to tell you how important asking questions is. It's the key to everything. If you don't ask questions, you'll never get the answers. And a lot of people either use pride or fear to not seek, but you gotta ask questions. I mean, I don't know if this is a faith-based podcast, but I mean, our faith in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, it started with the question.
Yeah.
Right? And so you gotta ask questions, like you have to. So I don't know. I'm a big, I will ask questions. If I don't know something, I will ask. I will annoy people to heck until I get the answer. Oh yeah. So
we love that. Well, Miguel, you're on our podcast today to share a bit of your story. Why don't you give us a bit of that story? What was the significant challenge or adversity that you faced in your life that you wanted to share with us today?
Oh man, so you warned me about this question before we started the podcast. Yeah, okay. So I've lived a lot, I've done a lot, and for the people I think I would like to inspire because you did ask if there's people out there that are listening, who do you want to inspire?
Yeah.
And I think the audience that I want to target today are people that are just, they want to start their business or they want to start something and they just don't know how to start. And I think that has been one of my biggest challenges in life. Parenthood, you'll figure it out. Relationships, you figure it out. Things, but the business is one of those things like, you do or die, and it's your livelihood. It's food on the table, roof on your back, clothes on your back, roof over your head. So my biggest challenge was, starting MTClife, starting this company, starting this business. I had no idea, right? And here's the thing: is the background to this. When I was working for corporate companies, I was phenomenal, like amazing. Running with the program that had already been created.
Yes.
So I'm a fast learner, right? I'm an incredibly fast learner. So I would go into a company, they would be like, all right, this is the product, this is the services. I'm like, got it, right? I got the people skills. I just got to learn the product and I am gold. And again, I would climb it really quickly. So if there was a model out there, I learned it very quickly. But now I'm in a position where I have to create a model.
Yes.
I have to find a voice. What's my purpose? What do I want to work with youth. What do I talk about? Do I talk about pornography? Do I talk about addiction? Do I talk about leadership? Do I talk about bullying, about mental? Like I had no voice.
Yeah.
So that was for me was starting a business. It's probably looking back now, it has been the biggest struggle of my 3. So I've been doing this for 15 years. The first 3 years were hellish. Yeah, I did not have a voice. So that was huge.
Whoa. So we've talked a bit about how this challenge impacted you initially. What were your immediate reactions when you decided to create MTClife? And I guess along the pivotal moments along the way.
Yeah, it's so Simeon, this guy, he told me, okay, you'll either work a job, a career, or a calling. And then he said, it was probably a 2-part question, right? So he goes, number 1. And this was the key, right? And he goes, to try and find out what to do. What are you willing to do for free, right? What are you willing to do for free? Work all hours of the night, not expecting reward, not expecting money, accolades, not expecting anything. Like, what are you willing to stay up all hours of the night, not even be tired? You're just doing it for the pure, strict passion of it, right? I go, that's easy. Like, that's working with youth. He goes, okay. Question 2. He goes, now what you have to do is figure out a way to monetize it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the answer to success, right? A lot of people try and create a brand new wheel, which you can or you could. But a lot of the times the model's already been created. You just have to adapt it and put it into your own words, your own voice, and your own spin. And then people need to hear you. They don't need to hear the next Elon Musk, right? And so even taking a look at the car industry. So when the car industry first started, one of the biggest downfalls of the car that it was very, very noisy. It was loud. Right? And people could hear cars coming from miles away, right? But then there's a guy by Rolls-Royce. He was like, you know what? These cars are way too dang loud. He goes, I am going to create an engine and I'm going to make it very, very quiet. And so he did. He created the Rolls-Royce, and it was a very soft engine. It was a very quiet car. Elon Musk. I want to create a car that is more energy efficient, that doesn't eat up on oil and gasoline. So he created the Tesla. So here's a car that's gone through 3 different generations or innovations, but it's still a car.
Yeah.
Right? And so what you have to do is take a look at what's out there and maybe revamp it, rethink it, redo it, remodel it, or do whatever it is, but putting your own spin. What do you believe in? Right? And so with me, it was I needed to figure out how to monetize it. What is my voice? What do I love to do? How do I do it? And for those people who are listening and you come across these 2 questions, right? The first one's always the hardest one. I'm going to tell you right now, the first question is always the hardest one. Don't be afraid to take a year to learn or to find the answer to that one question. What do you love to do? Just naturally, what are you willing to stay up all hours of the night and just do it for free because you just love it? Because once you have that question answered, part two, that's the cake. Like, that's the fun part, right? Because now you're in study mode. Now you have a destination. You don't know how you're gonna get there, but you just have a destination. You know where you want to go now, right? And so that just brings so much life and energy into whatever it is that you want to do. But take time and take a week, take 2 months, take however long it takes to answer question number one, and don't be afraid, right? And then just figure it out. And then once that's done, part two is the fun part, man. Yeah, I remember staying up all hours of the night working on my YouTube channels. Dude, I was my best audience. I was my biggest fan. I was coming up with like sound effects and different ways of doing things and coming up with stories, and I was having a blast. Now it's stressful. You got bills and you got these things, you got to whatever, and you got to perform, and then there's these expectations when you walk into an organization and so on. But man, the creating part, that's a fun part. Yeah.
So if I were thinking about starting my own business, the thoughts that would come to my mind is I have a family that I need to support.
Right.
I have kids.
Yeah.
How do you put that on the side for a minute and then take this year to decide that this is what you wanted to do and really dive into that? Like, how do we get people to practically do that?
Yeah. So I will tell you that there's no way that you can do anything that you want to do without a supportive partner. Like, you need a supportive partner. And I'm not a big fan. I hear these guys all the time. Like, sometimes you have to sacrifice even your family time, and that's BS, man. Like, you don't have to sacrifice this. You just got to get them on the same page. The reason why people sacrifice family time, children, wives, spouses, partners, husbands, and there's strain in the relationship is because they're not on the journey with you. You haven't invited them into the ship. You've taken off on this boat ride and into the unknown, and you're like the sails and the captain, and then you're manning the helms and all the ropes, and you're paddling away and all this other stuff, and you turn back and your family's just there. And you're like later, and then you're just like, oh, I'm on this journey. And like, when I be back, I'm going to be a millionaire and whatever. And then there's this separation. It's like, what are you doing, dude? Mm-hmm. Like, what are you doing? Bring him on the ride, right? It doesn't have to be strenuous. And so I will go toe to toe, and I will fight anybody who tells me otherwise, right? So when I first started, I sat my wife down and I said, okay, this is what I want to do. I've been unhappy for the last 8 years. And she goes, yeah, I know. And I go, I've come home making 6 figures, working 20 hours a week, but I feel unfulfilled. And then she goes, well, what do you want to do? And I go, well, I've answered that question. I want to work with the youth. I want to figure it out. She goes, okay. And then she said, we'll figure it out. Let's do it. Now, she's not in the business, right? She has zero part to do with the business. But she was sacrificing with me, and it brought us closer. There was this one time where I was actually thinking about quitting. So I'm bringing zero income. You have to understand, right? Zero income. There's Christmases, birthdays, and she puts my name on those presents, and I'm like, don't do that. Like, I did not contribute to that present, right? She goes, oh, but it's from us. I'm like, it's from you. And I go, don't do that. And so I'm bringing zero income to the family. And I remember one dinner, I was like, okay, you know what, guys? Seth was already born, my firstborn. And I'm like, I think I'm going to quit MTClife. Like, I'm not bringing income, and this is hurting, whatever. Kids started crying. Like, it was horrible, right? Because, again, they were part of this journey. They saw how happy I was building, but I wasn't bringing and I wasn't contributing. And there's only so much a man can see. Wife waking up early, going to bed late because she's the sole provider, right? And so the next morning, as I'm starting to pack up and stuff like that, my wife walks into my office. She gives me an envelope. She's like, here's $600. She goes, you can use it either to buy equipment. And there was a course I was being offered in the US. She goes, and I know you want to go to this course. You can use it to buy your ticket or your entry or your plane ticket. But don't quit. Dude, That was a year into the business, and I have not looked back ever since. And so because I brought her on the journey, right? And so anybody else that would have done, oh, I got to sacrifice family time. If I would have said, yeah, you know what, I'm quitting, the spouse would be like, okay, finally we get to have the husband back, or finally we get to have this guy back in our family, right? But so you need a supportive partner. You need to bring them in on the journey. Yeah.
That's exceptional. So that's one step of the journey. I guess stepping back just slightly, how did you go about answering that first question?
You know, it's so hard. I can only tell you what I was told, right? Take time, ask it, you know, whatever. And if it takes a week, month, or year, just make sure that you get the answer to that question. It's hard for me to tell you because I knew right away what I love to do.
Okay.
I was already doing it. I was volunteering at Big Brothers clubs. I was volunteering at my school kids, the schools of my kids. And I was doing the YLCs, the youth leadership conferences. I was going there. Nobody was paying me for that. But till this day, I don't get paid for that, right? I don't ask for compensation.
Yeah.
I paid my own way. I would buy the hotel. Sometimes I wouldn't stay in the campuses. And so it was money out of my pocket. I was paying for the gas. I was paying for my room. But I already knew what I loved to do because I was already doing it as a hobby, just a joy.
Yeah.
So when that question was asked, Simeon didn't even finish asking the question, what do you love to do? And I was, oh, that's easy. I love working with the youth, right? For those who don't know, that it's the process as to your question. How do you go about getting that first question answered? It just give yourself time. Like, give yourself time. Sit down and just think about it, right? So Steve Jobs, when he came back and he revamped Apple, he closed himself in his office, right?
Yeah.
Hold my calls, turned off his computer, and he just sat. And he just sat and just thinking and thinking and thinking. And he figured music connect us all. And how he was able to penetrate the market into a consumer where it was just businesses, it was through music. It was the iPod.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, I don't know if I knew that.
Yeah, it did not matter if you had Windows or Apple. Music connected us all. Mm-hmm. Right? So it's very strategic. So buy the iPod. You buy the iPod, one little stick, right? You can put 10,000 songs in there. Whoa, my gosh, no more CDs and no more record players carrying, none of that, right? Yeah. And so then he introduced the iTunes Store, right? And so the iTunes Store was the first official software that was compatible, that you could use it for Windows or Macs. And then through that, you started okay, it became a trusted product. And then people started buying Macs. And then after the Mac, people started getting the phones. And after the phones, the iPads, right? And so then now there's headgears that cost $10,000, right? It's just ridiculous. But it started with that. It started with him just thinking by himself and whatever. There's another story. I remember in a stake, same thing. He went to the basement, and it was not renovated, and he just sat there, pen, paper, desk, and chair. Nobody come down and talk to me.
Whoa.
And he just sat down and was like, okay, what is there a need? What is there a need in the economy? What do I do? How do I do it? And he just gave himself time. So don't forget to give yourself solitude. Don't forget to go for walks. Don't forget to lock yourself in the basement or in the closet and just ask questions. And what do I love to do that will just, I can do it for free. And I'm not asking, I'm not getting compensated for it. Yeah. So take time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it might be helpful to know, I've done a similar exercise before, and I've done this a couple of times, but didn't find answers the first time. So if you go into it the first time and you spend 3 hours journaling, trying to figure it out, and you walk out with nothing, that's okay. Go back into it, keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. It's have you ever seen that little image of the guy chipping away? He's in a mine.
I think so.
Okay. So it's a comic strip.
With a diamond on the end and he's really close?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then so the first part of that comic strip, he's chipping away and he's excited. Yeah. He's got his jacket on, his tie's flying, this big smile from ear to ear on his face, and he's chipping away with the pick, and he's chipping away. He's in the beginning of the mine. The second part of the strip at the bottom, he is like inches away from hitting the diamond. But in the image, he's turned away and he's walking back looking defeated. And one more swing could have gotten him the diamonds. One more swing. And so to the people listening, you never know when your swing hits. So the name of the game is not to count the swings. The name of the game is just to swing. That's it. That's all you got to do. Whether it takes a week, a month, a year, 2 years, 5 years, I don't care. Just swing, and you will chip away, and you will strike gold, right? But you can't give up. Like, you can't. And like, how sad is it that you put in 2, 3, 5 years, and just when you're about to hit that mine, you're walking out, and it's just like, oh my gosh, what a waste of 5 years, right? That you could have created something great. And so just keep swinging, man. Yeah, keep swinging.
I love that. So you've told us a bit of the story about how you were unhappy, and that you got to this point where you created this business, and a year in, you're not making income, and your wife gives you this money to go on this trip to go to this conference.
Yeah.
And that you haven't looked back since. What I'm curious about is your initial idea of MTClife.
Mm-hmm.
Is it exactly what it is today, or has it evolved?
The process has evolved.
Yeah.
But the initial thought, it is alive and well today. Yeah. So my favorite car is a Jeep. It's always been my dream car since high school. Right?
No way.
Oh yeah. I love the Jeep. The Jeep is my baby. Sometimes I love the Jeep more than I love my kids, right? And so I'm like, don't touch my Jeep. Now it's like 7 years old, and they jump on the roof, and I'm like, whatever, right? But in the beginning, I was like, don't even look at my Jeep, right? But before the Jeep, I was driving a CRV.
Mm-hmm.
Before the CRV, I was driving an Accord. Before the Accord, I was driving a Civic. Yeah. So getting from point A to point B, the ride is the movement is the same. You'll always keep moving forward. What changes is the vehicle sometimes, right? But the destination will always remain the same. So my destination is exactly where I wanted it to be. Just the method of how I got here has changed, right? So before I focused a lot on fitness, I quickly realized that it wasn't. I didn't want my voice to be a voice of just like fitness but what I do now is I use music. And I use exercise to engage all participants to think about goals and dreams and things like that. And so, yeah. So to answer your question, yes, what I envision MTClife to be is exactly where it is, which is I'm in every school. I'm working with students. I'm working with teachers. I'm working with parents. I'm working at head office, corporate level. I have a big corporate event happening next week at TD. It's a big, huge, massive summit. I'm their keynote.
Whoa.
And so, yeah, so I'm doing exactly what I want to do. But the vehicle has changed. The messaging has changed. I've adapted. I've changed it. I've included. I've excluded. I've modified. So, yeah. So just don't be so rigid, right? Be willing to switch up vehicles on the way there.
I like that a lot. So just to wrap out kind of your journey a little bit. So you talked about how your wife gave you this money and you haven't looked back since.
Yeah.
How did you go from still making no money to a point where you're like, cool, I don't really have to worry about money anymore?
Yeah, you're not by yourself. Oh, but you're not worrying about money anymore. Like how was my transitions kind of thing?
How did you go from that to where you are today?
I kept chipping away, man.
Yeah.
I kept chipping away. I went to one school. They referred me to another school. This school referred me to two. And in that third school, I got referred by a company, a before and after school program, and they are in 286 schools. Whoa! Right, both Catholic and public in the Peel region. And so I went to my first school. She said, "Sure." Actually, taking a step back, I went to a school, and she says, "We don't need this program." I'm like, ugh. I went to my second school. She says, "We'll give you a shot." She referred me to another school. That school referred me to two. In one of those two referrals, the director of this before and after school program was there, PLASP. She goes, "Oh, I like what you're doing with the kids. Do you do it at how big or how small the audience?" And I go from a 500 to like a classroom setting. She goes, "Okay, this is who we are. We're a before and after school program. Do you have the resources to teach, to do after school programs, every kind of thing?" And we're like, "Oh, 100%, da-da-da." Went in, had an interview with them. And again, sales, I can sell myself, right? And they already saw. And she goes, "Okay, we have to see the program from beginning to end." And I'm like, "Sure, I'll be in this school this day." And so they showed up and they evaluated me and they're like, we really like it. How many schools can you do a month? And I'm like, 1 per day. I go, I can do 20. And then they're like, "Okay, so every month I would get 20 schools coming in."
Oh my gosh.
And so I was like, "Oh my gosh," right? And whatever. And then I wanted to do more. And so I started hiring people.
Yeah.
And so it just started snowballing. And then the more that you do, then the more networks you build. Like you say hi, be friendly, say hi to people, always be the best version of yourself. People will see it. They might take a note who you are. A year later, "Hey, I saw you last year at this school or whatever, and I work for this company, and do you think you can do what you did with them at this corporate level?" I'm like, 100% I can. And it's just like, it's a business. Any business is a business of network.
Yeah.
Right? Any business is a business of network. The rule of thumb is you do one bad business, you'll tell 10 people. You hate this company, you hate this business, you hate this product, and you want to make sure that you are the reason why this company closes. Mm-hmm. So you're going to tell everybody and their mother, right? You do one good business with someone, they'll tell 3. Mm-hmm. And so I just focused on those 3, right? It was a small referral program. Any business is referral. And I just kept working on the threes. And so then now, I don't have to. I got some pretty big projects that were just like, I'm just blown away. And I'm really excited.
I love it. If you were looking back at yourself and or someone who is in the same spot as you right now, sorry, I'm kind of far from the mic.
Yeah, no worries.
What would you tell yourself or someone in that spot where you were years ago when you were like, "Cool, I hate my life, I want to do something different"? From there, what would you tell yourself or someone in those shoes? Yeah,
that's a great question. So, somebody that comes to that crossroad. A lot of people do what they do in and day out is because they think that they have to play the cards that they were dealt with. And when I say that, I'm even talking about the education sector. Well, I put in 4 years in my undergrad and I'm getting I got my 2 years in master's and I've put in all this money and so whatever. And I'm like, okay, like, so, I'm $60,000 in debt. I have to pay it off and I have to figure something out. And it's like, okay. So for all those who are listening, you don't have to play the cards that you were dealt with, right? Sometimes parents push us to go into a degree or an education that we're not like, this is not what I want to do, right? Yeah. And we're forced into it, strong-armed or influenced by. And I struggled with that, right? My family, most of them are educated. Degrees, all these different things. Here I am, don't have my high school diploma. I'm missing a credit or 2. Went to 1 year of university to Ryerson, dropped out because I was not learning anything and I was getting into more and more debt.
Whoa.
So I went into the sales position, junior sales, inside calls, in-house calls. So all you're doing is just sitting at a table, waiting for the phone to ring, and then you make a sale. That's all I was doing.
Yeah.
Then I went to outside sales. And then I went to project managing, and then then I went to account managing, right? So I kept like evolving, and I kept getting better and better at my skill set. But I knew my end result was going to be great. I did not want to settle. I did not want to follow the norm, you got to go back to school and you got to do this and you have to do that. I had to pave my own path. And so for those who are listening that, how do you start? Talk to people, ask questions, do your research. But again, you don't have to play the cards that you were dealt with, whether it's poverty or whether it's a complete full education. You gotta play you have more hands. You just gotta play them. See what sticks, see what lands. So
I like that a lot. What's coming to mind is this aspect that in order to achieve something extraordinary, you need to do something different.
yeah, you definitely do. And just know that you were born for greatness, right? The Brad Wilcox General Conference talk, his last one, he said something that just resonated with me. He's my mentor, right? I know him personally, and he's just a great man. But he said in his last General Conference talk, don't let the world change you when you were born to change the world, right? Like, how powerful is that, right? And so, and this world can look like different. It can be family, it can be friends, it can be environment, it can be surroundings, it can be your current job, right? It can be loved ones, it can be the world is your environment around you. And some people want to put you in a box because that's what we know. That's the norm. That's what we all do. We're all categorized, and so we want to play the role. And I'm here to tell you, like, you weren't born for that. Like, I mean, if you want to be a teacher, then you be a teacher, the best dang teacher, right? If you want to be a convenience store owner and that's what you want to do, then you be that. Or if you want to just work at a convenience store and then just clock in, clock out, and just spend time with, then you do that. Whatever success looks for you, right? But just don't do something because somebody is telling you to do it. Right? You got to find your own path. And so, yeah, just don't quit, man. Just keep going.
I love that. What keeps you motivated and inspired even during difficult times?
Oh, geez. Okay. What keeps me motivated? So the first thing that comes to mind is my family, right? That's the first thing. But you know what? I'm not going to give you a cliche answer, which is faith and family. Right, because I think we're all bound to those two things if you get your head on straight, right?
Yeah.
Faith and family. But the one thing is that I absolutely love what I do. So Les Brown talks about, is it worth it? And it's a question that we're all going to ask ourselves at one point, whatever it is that we're doing, is it worth it? And that's the quitting point. That's a tipping point. So that's what's happened is you're on this path, you're on this road, and all of a sudden you're struggling, you're hurting, you're in pain, and you're doing all these different things and whatever. And you come to this cross path and this fork on the road, and there are two paths. One that says keep on going, and one that says quit. At this point, this question gets asked. Everybody, 100% of the world's population today, this is the question that gets asked, whether it's education, family, career, relationship, doesn't matter. Is it worth it? Okay. If it's not worth it, people will choose the quitting path. I don't want to do this. It's not worth it. And for me, doing what I love to do, because it was hurting I thought it was hurting my family. I was going to quit because they were more important, or they are more important, right? Not realizing that bringing her on this journey allowed me to, she reminded me that she was okay. And that she was a supporter, and then she was on this journey with me, not just for me, but with me. And that if I quit, I would be quitting on her as well, because she bought into the dream. Wow. Right? And so when I said, is it worth it? I had them in mind. And then when she said, don't quit, it's because she had us in mind. Okay? So when you come to this crossroad, and then you ask yourself, is it worth it? And the answer is like, yeah, it's worth it. Right? Like, I want to quit, or it's not worth it, then you'll quit. But when you come to this crossroad and you say, it's worth it, I love what I do, and whatever, you will continue doing what you're doing, making $0 of money, struggling, crap in the face, crap hits the fan, you're getting slapped, you're getting kicked, you're getting booed, you're getting whatever, but it's worth it because you absolutely love it. The passion for it, it allows you to take the one road, just keep on going, keep swinging, because again, there's something there for you, right? So to answer your question is, make sure that whatever hill that you want to die on, it's a hill that you absolutely love. That it's something that you're willing to sacrifice, it's something that you're willing to do, something that you're absolutely incredible to do, and don't do it alone, right? You don't have to do it alone, but just bring somebody on the road, on the journey. So I've taken many long trips, and those long trips are always easier when somebody else is beside me. right? And so if you don't have a partner, if you're just doing this on your own, then that's great, right? The only person you have to please is yourself. But if you do, bring that person along with you. They can encourage you, help you stay awake, and keep the vision moving forward. But yeah, ask yourself, is it worth it?
Miguel, words to live by. Thank you so much for joining us today.
No worries, my pleasure. Thank you so much. And let me know if I can help you with anything else.
Will do.
All right, buddy.
Take care.
Take care. Have a good one.
What an inspiring conversation with Miguel Martinez. Miguel's insights and the work he's doing at MTClife, his podcast, and his upcoming book are a testament to the positive change that's possible when we focus on growth and resilience. If you'd like to learn more about Miguel's work, be sure to check out his podcast, From Vision to Success, and keep an eye out for his upcoming book, The 7 Imps, launching in fall of 2025. I'll be sure to place the links in the podcast description so you can follow up on them. Thank you for joining us in this episode of Trials and Triumphs. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and follow us for more incredible stories of resilience and triumph. Until next time, remember, every trial brings its own triumph.